Max, we're back again for another Alive at 5 announcement. Now, this one might be a little out of sequence. Tell us why.
Well, we had some great bands that we lined all the way up for Alive at 5. Excited to announce all 10 weeks of this amazing event that's becoming staple of Helena and kind of an iconic event for people to get together on Wednesdays. And we're so excited to just be able to be a part of this. And we're so pleased that so many local companies and even individuals have stepped up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But as we put all these bands together, because we had some great sponsorships from folks, like Rocky Mountain Credit Union, our diamond sponsor, and others, we were able to up the budget a little bit on the music to really bring in some bands that you would normally pay money to see these bands on a regular basis. And so we had week 2 lined up, and then the band that we had lined up for week 2 actually canceled their entire tour.
They had some other shows that they were depending on fall through,
I think there was some Idaho shows and some other things, and I don't know all the details, but that happens in the industry sometimes. Sure. And so we thought, oh, well, we better pump the brakes, and what a blessing. Sometimes things happen for a reason, and so excited to talk about who the replacement for week 2 is. But that's why you may have seen week 3. You've seen week 1, and then you may have seen week 3, and now you're seeing week 2. We do know how to look at a calendar. This is week 2 of Alive at 5, which is June 26th. It's also at the Lewis and Clark Tap Room out on our patio stage that we'll be talking about today. But we couldn't wait. We wanted to start feeding more of these great bands, and so that's why we got a little bit out of sequence.
Max, why don't you tell us a little bit, back up and tell us a little bit about why Lewis and Clark, or how Lewis and Clark got involved in Live at 5.
Sure. There was a lot of rumors out there, and of course there's been a lot of changes to the downtown Helena organization, and when that had dissolved, there was basically nobody to put on Alive at 5, and so we had been approached, or I'd been approached by some folks at the city and also the Helena BID, the Business Improvement District, about, hey, is this something you guys could do? And, we have done the alcohol part of Alive at 5. We sold beer down there, catered that event last year. But this is a much bigger undertaking when you look at all of the other expenses and commitments and responsibilities and everything else that goes into play to put on an entire event. And so we said, you know what, maybe we can make this work. But the first thing we need to do is reach out to the community and see, number one, is this something that people really do want to see happen? And number 2, could we get some help? Would other companies step up and help us put this event on? Because it is a pretty big financial undertaking as well. And we were, blown away by the response. I mean, it was really cool to see not only the response with companies willing to give us some money and sponsorships to help make it happen, but the overwhelming response of the community saying, no, this is important. We want this. We need this. And so we met with the city of Helena and the mayor and their staff. And after we started getting a few of the bigger sponsors in, we said, hey, let's make this happen. And at the early stages, we said, let's do half of the events downtown and half of them at Lewis and Clark, because obviously, logistically, it's a lot easier for us to do them at Lewis and Clark. And we have a great facility there with a big patio and a huge lawn and all of the bathrooms and everything else that you need to put on an event. And we don't need to get permits and close streets and all that kind of stuff.
Save a lot of cost when in the stage
and manpower. You have labor. It's not like we're going to close if we're doing a Live at 5. So you're doubling up on your staff, and so by doing it at the tap room, you put on some extra staff, but it's not like a completely different setup. So we decided, hey, let's do half and half this year. Let's go every other week. We'll be downtown or at Lewis and Clark. And so the first week that we talked about already, that people, if you haven't seen that video, please go check out the event, and you'll see the video linked there, is on June 19th. It's also part of the kickoff of the Juneteenth celebration, and we're partnering with several organizations as part of that. But so this would be the second one, but it would be the first one at the tap room.
Right.
And so super excited to host this at the tap room. And
who's sponsoring week 2?
Week 2, we're highlighting, of course, we have a lot of sponsors, but some of our big sponsors we're trying to highlight in these videos, as you know. And so week 2, we're really highlighting MT Kush. And they are a marijuana producer, and they have dispensaries across the state of Montana. I mean, they got them in Butte and in Bozeman and Missoula and here in Helena. Gallatin Gateway, they have one, and a really high-quality product they put out. And we're excited to have them as a sponsor. And, of course, with the change to the laws and the recreational capabilities of that, they just said, hey, we love live music too. We'd love to be a part of this. We'd love to sponsor this. And so they've stepped up, and we really appreciate that, along with all of the sponsors that we'll be talking about over the next several weeks as we introduce these bands. And so, yeah, it became down to, okay, if we're going to do the one at the tap room as our first one at the tap room, you know, what kind of band can we get? And so like we said, we had a band booked, and then it didn't work out. And with our relationship with Sean over at the pub station, that we're doing more ticketed events for the tap room that you and I have been working on. You know, you and I had went over there and, you know, learning their systems and learning more about how the process works. And on the way back from Billings, we mentioned to Sean that, hey, we do need an act for week 2, Alive at 5 at the tap room. And he said, well, let me see what I can do. And we were on our way back from Billings, and we got the phone call. And he said, well, I think I might have someone for you. And I said, well, who is it? And he goes, what do you think about Cody Canada? And I think we both looked at each other like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, we both know Cody. We both have had a relationship. He's been at the brewery a few times.
Been on the tour bus, guy. Partied with Cody and the boys. And I just thought, wow, that would be so awesome to have one of our favorite acts ever that's ever played at the brewery and became just really good friends of ours, to kick off Alive at 5 at the tap room. And this is a show that, and honestly, all the bands that we're going to be having at the Alive at 5, and we love local bands. You and I have talked many times about how about 80-90% of the bands we have in the tap room are local bands.
Right.
And we love supporting local bands, but because of the sponsorships and the excitement around these events, we felt like, wow, if we can get touring bands that you would normally pay a ticket price to go see, many of these bands that you're going to see at Alive at 5, you would have paid $15, $20, $25, $30, some of them $35. You can just go look at their site and the other places they're playing. And that certainly would be the case with Cody Canada and The Departed. You know, you're going to pay $25, $30, $35 to see that show. And I think partly because of the relationship we have with them, and he loves to support the brewery and the cause and knows that we're trying to do something for the community that's actually free to the public. And again, there's that nonprofit component of it. So all the wristband money goes to a separate nonprofit each week. And so it's just, I am just so stoked about week 2. It's just going to be a great way to throw a giant party at the tap room that people are really going to come and have a great time and see a high-level musical act at a free public event is really cool.
Well, I hope people take time to really take a moment and look at the sponsors that are really, they're the reason that this can happen.
Yeah.
That you can see a band or bands that you would normally pay a ticket for, and you can see them for free. And if it wasn't for these sponsors, for these businesses in our community that stepped up and said, yeah, let's do this. You have a story where your daughter and her now husband of many years met in 8th grade at an Alive at 5. And I think many people probably have a connection, a favorite memory or something like that to Alive at 5. And so it's wonderful to keep that going.
It really is. And I think it's become just a social connection. And in Montana, we have the precious 12 weeks of summer. And most of those weekends, people have plans. It's either somebody's wedding, or we're going camping, or we're going, boating, or whatever the case may be. And so that Wednesday becomes a really nice kind of classic hump day, a break from the work week, and also the intensity that happens every weekend.
Right.
There's just so much going on, and there's so many events that happen on the weekend that you're going to be competing with, whether you're putting on, you and I have put on several other events as well. And it's always a challenge because you're like, oh, darn, that other event is going on in Butte, or this one's going on in Billings, or this one's going on in Missoula. And you're gonna always be on top of other events and competing for people's attention. But on a Wednesday afternoon,
there's fewer,
not a lot.
Yeah,
and I think people really look forward to that. And of course, we have all the food trucks lined up. So whether it's down at Women's Park, or it's at Lewis and Clark Tap Room with that new expanded patio area in the big yard and that whole parking lot out front now, we're going to have plenty of food trucks, and all of the fun that you associate with Alive at 5 is going to take place at either our place or downtown. And I think I'm just super, super excited about it, because I really do believe people are going to be exposed, especially people that maybe don't justify paying money to go see live music. They kind of see it when it's free, and I get it. I mean, there's a lot of other things to spend money on, but to be able to see a high-quality band for free and meet with your friends and have a great time, I really think we're going to knock it out of the park with this. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I think people will have a lot of fun, and people are accustomed to bringing their chairs and things like that down to the park, down to Women's Park, for Alive at 5s. How will that work now that it's at the brewery?
We're going to try to emulate as much as we can that same kind of vibe. And so there might be times, and honestly, this week too will probably be one of those times where we do have to say, here's the section for chairs, because I really feel like we're going to get a lot of people down there to see Cody Canada and The Departed. I mean, they're now out with the Soul Gravy album, which is, a totally redone album from years ago with a lot of the big hits that people are going to remember from Cross Canadian Ragweed and his, and of course, all the great stuff that Cody does himself and The Departed. So I think that, we'll have to be a little bit more careful about where we set up stuff, but there's still going to be that opportunity. And we always encourage people to bring a lawn chair. We do have several, chairs that people can sit in, and we have, places, standing rails that you're going to be able to stand up to put your drink on, and kind of have some spots. And I think it's going to feel a lot like being in the park. It's just going to be a little different because you're right outside the brewery. But on the positive side, I know my wife doesn't really like porta-johns very well. And so when you're at an event and that's your only option, you kind of got to deal with it. We will have porta-johns as well, but we've got real bathrooms with real porcelain toilets that you can go in and use. And so I think having that as that infrastructure so close, and all the other cool things that are part of the tap room and the experience there. So I think it'll kind of be the best of both worlds, and we're certainly excited to see how it unfolds this first year of doing this kind of in multiple locations.
Right. Well, the money you save certainly doesn't get wasted. It's getting put back into the bands. And Cody Cannon, The Departed, June 26th, Alive at 5, the first Wednesday at the brewery. What else do you have to add?
We got, there's probably going to be, there definitely will be an opening act for them. And so as we get closer, I mean, my hope is, based on our relationship with Cody over the years, that we're going to be able to get him on a podcast in the future. You and I do, where he calls in and we can talk to him a little bit about what's been going on, and we'll be able to talk to that potential opening act as well. And so I think as this continues to build, as we get closer and closer towards the end of June, and you see more and more of these videos coming out each week, and our goal is to get all of the bands announced here by the first part of May. So you got plenty of time to circle the Wednesday on the calendar that is something that you really want to see. And the other thing I'm excited about, Rick, is we've done a pretty good job of really mixing things up. It's going to be pretty diverse. We've got starting out with the blues. Then you got Cody Canada in week 2. And then, we got some bluegrass coming, and we've got some country coming, and we've got rock and roll. And it's just going to be a really great mix of music, but all of them at a high level, really good musicians.
All right. Well, we have a special video that we're going to watch here at the end, right?
Yeah. Matter of fact, one of the kind of cool things with our history of Cody is when we opened the patio stage. Gosh, I can't even, I'm embarrassed to say I don't even remember how many years ago that was. It was quite a few years ago. And we called it the Railroad Stage. And because, of course, we're right at the railroad tracks there. And that was
before the quiet zone too.
Exactly.
You got the horn.
You knew when that train was coming through. And so we have some footage. I did a time-lapse camera back in the day, and we put it out on social media and YouTube. This was years ago, to one of his songs, In Betweener. And so we are going to take a part of that footage just to show you kind of the crowd that a band like this can actually draw in from all over the place. And of course, keep in mind, this was when the tap room patio was a lot smaller,
right?
Very little bit of grass. Now it's really much larger, and we have the entire parking lot open. So don't worry, we'll have plenty of room to fit people, but it will show you just kind of the excitement around the show. And so super stoked, and encourage people to go check out Cody Canada and the Departed, look at what they're doing, and check out their tour and some of the videos you'll find. And hopefully we'll be talking to him soon and getting more details about his appearance at Alive at 5, and potentially maybe even we're working hard to see if we can't even do like a very intimate acoustic show where he could tell some of the stories about the music and the background behind the songs. And that would probably be the night before or the night after Live at 5. For those of you that are really big Cody fans, that might be a cool thing to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, that'd be a special thing to hear, kind of a storyteller option. And it's always nice to learn what they were thinking when they actually wrote the song.
Yep, for sure.
All right, man. Well, let's watch
thanks.
it.
Yeah, thanks to Montana Kush again for being the highlighted sponsor of the week here. We appreciate your support. Rocky Mountain Credit Union, huge support. Couldn't make this happen without all the folks that we've been talking about, and we're going to continue to talk about them because they're the reason that we can bring in this level of quality on the music side. So, cheers.
Cool. Cheers.
but it's a long way down. Hey, hey, you're not an in-betweener. Up when you're down and you're low when you're high. Pay me, I'm a believer, gonna take